What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Terminus, and we are here for another episode of Frieren. Episode 6 episode 8 actually. Episode 8 this time. Last time on Frieren, let me keep it very short actually. Last time on Frieren we did arrive at a new town, which is... I totally forgot the name of the fucking town. I forgot the name of the town, Let me see. Yeah, we were heading for a new town, which had an unspecified name, I think. It was 𝔸𝕓𝕠𝕦𝕥's domain. Not quite sure what granite means in that case. That is kind of the first name, if I remember it correctly. I confused Fern's name for Frieren for 4 episodes and probably will never live that down, but if I remember that correctly, granite, I mean, there's some words that are kind of going in that direction in German, but I can't remember one that would perfectly fit on this character. Anyway, we did find out that there's a town, and there seems to be an ongoing conflict here in the north with a faction of the demons. Apparently, one of the generals, the female general of the Demon King, did rise back to power and manage to assemble an army again. And at the moment that we arrive in the town with Frieren and Frieren and 𝔸𝕓𝕠𝕦𝕥, we do meet upon a peace envoy of these demons, and Frieren immediately attacks them, which obviously sets up some kind of conflict. In this situation, any person who is trying to observe this on a neutral ground would consider this to be somewhat hostile and maybe assume that Frieren is in the wrong here and shows some clear racial biases. But at the same time, one has to also consider that Frieren knows a lot more about the world than we do as individuals here. So there is the question of, do we trust Frieren's word, or do we assume that Frieren is wrong and came to some kind of wrong conclusion? One thing, however, that I personally noticed, and obviously, I mean, most people wouldn't come around noticing that, is that at least for our perspective, from what we have seen, especially even in a room where the demons were by themselves and just talking to themselves, they seem to consider themselves evil and devious and just predators who are trying to get to their prey, the humans, get them to show sympathy and lower their defenses, put down their mental barriers and their actual barriers, to let them into their hearts and then betray them, slaughter the entire town. So the question is, what does the author actually want to achieve with that? What are the demons? Because every story has some kind of general setup. Of course, we do have the stories where there's just straight up bad guys that are bad guys because they like to be bad guys, because they're sadistic, because they're mean, evil. They're evil by nature creatures. And we do have the demons that could kind of represent this species of evil actual monsters that evolved to a high intellectual degree and adapted in a way to be perfectly manipulative to the humans. We could go into religious areas in this specific case and liken that to the portrayal of the devil or demons in various religions, tempting and manipulating humans to their actual doom. We could also go into different hypotheticals that the author wants to first portray the demons as this evil stuff, and maybe also as a species that came from origins of actual monsters being not evil necessarily, but always preying, always predatory, always out to harm other species for their own gain, either by consuming them, eating them, whatever, or by destroying them, or engaging in sadism and similar things. And then we turn it around and get put a twist on it where it's gonna be a valuable lesson for our heroes, in this case especially Frieren, who seems to be very dead set on the fact that the demons are evil and you can't talk to them, you can't negotiate with them. But as it seems for us, the audience, right now, even without the observer Frieren being here, we do have several scenes where demons are manipulative. They admit that they only have bad intentions to themselves and not even to anybody else. So there's an argument to be made that they are supposed to represent these kind of people, which in my personal opinion, I would find the first element that on the one hand is very interesting because it holds potential, but on the other hand, if it's handled wrongly and it remains as surface level and as flat as it is, would be the first point where I kind of am disappointed with the design. I mean, it's cool. We do have an antagonist now, and I do assume that we will probably spend a good 2-3 episodes dealing with this plot thread of Aura and her army of demons, and Frieren being our main antagonist, Frieren and Stark being our main antagonistic force here. But I do wonder what the long game is here. I can kind of assume that it might be us getting to episode 12. I just recently got told that Frieren actually has 28 episodes, and there's even like a pause in between. Like, first of all, poor animators. I do hope they started animating this way in advance, and I do hope they get their rest, because they really deserve it. They did a great job so far in setting up the atmosphere, and especially episode 6, that was an amazing piece of animation in there with the dragon fight. So I do hope that they get their rest and they actually manage to pull through to the end without getting mental breakdowns or whatever, because people don't. Especially creative jobs shouldn't always be on constant deadlines. That is something that, well, long term, it burns you out and it kills your passion, right? And it would be far too much of a waste for all of that amazing passion that I see in these works of art, especially here in Frieren and, for example, the other show I'm watching, Made in Abyss, to go to waste here and for the people to burn out. But yeah. 28 episodes, so we have a long time to explore a lot of themes. Here's what I'm thinking. And maybe I'm totally wrong here. But we do see Aura, I do assume it's Aura, we do see Aura in the OP. It's the lolly who has elfish ears, could also be demon traits, of course, and has a lot of books behind her and smiling deviously. So I do assume that her character has something to do with this background, books, ancient knowledge, forbidden knowledge, whatever. But that suggests to me that Aura as a demon is very clever, and she has read a lot of stuff. She is intellectual, and she can conceptually understand how humans think and what they do. We talked about this in the discussion last time. I don't think that any kind of human, and in this case demon, could successfully manipulate other humans without having some knowledge and some idea of the concepts that human holds dear and value. You can't not understand humans and then manipulate them. I mean, there is obviously there's certain examples, like psychopaths being able to be very charming and having natural charisma and being able to manipulate people into following them, trusting them, whatever. But even there is a basic understanding of how human society and human interaction works. They might not feel the same emotions. For them, there might be a lot of mental issues that exist, and a lot of communication issues and issues of empathy going on, but at least on a conceptual level they can understand these things. This is why it confused me so much that Lord 𝔸𝕠𝕦, which is the leader of the peace envoy of the demons, did actually not understand or not care to understand the concept of a father. And that it was just a phrase he put out there, or the phrase he took in and kind of understood the connotations of. There must be some form of understanding here of how humans work, and that leads me to believe that there is a possibility for a discussion, right? A possibility for maybe even a redemption. I don't know if this is the kind of anime where we go down the path of like the bad guy and we beat some low-level goons or some higher-level goons, and then we get to the bad guy and we talk to them and we fight as well, but we convince them in the end that there is another way and what they're doing is wrong. We did have that little basically for the demon child, which was like, I just want to be left alone. That tells me that there is some kind of desire, at least, to coexist with other people, although depending on the experiences those demons have made. I mean, they fought a war before against the humans, and the humans won it, beat their king, who might have been a beloved leader. Obviously, there is a lot of resentment going on, there's a lot of hostility going on, there's a lot of lack of understanding maybe going on, and that goes both sides. We did see Frieren, after all, being very maybe not quite as understanding as she would have liked to be. Not if cut it out. Not quite as understanding as we would like her to be. I do wonder if this is gonna end up as more or less an example of various biases that we as humans can hold. That because all we saw of Frieren is that she had a basic understanding of where demons came from, because she is personally connected to their history. Flam, her former master who lived thousands of years ago, who founded human magic, did define demons as the monsters who can manipulate humans by learning their speech and having evolved from monsters that cry help in the night to lure in other humans. Which is very interesting, because we have a similar concept going on in an episode of another anime I'm watching right now. But no spoilers here, it's fine. We're just gonna jump over that little thing. I just thought I'd put a little note down here. But yeah, we do have various biases that all humans are kind of that all or most humans kind of experience throughout their life. One of the things that we do experience is, for example, confirmation bias. We do often purposefully seek information that confirms our own beliefs, right? If we do only, or if we find more information that confirms our beliefs, it has often to do with the way we look for it, and the way we critically analyze and judge the information to be. Sometimes we ignore or gloss over information that might be pointing to another thing. But again, this is where the author comes in, and the intent that he or she had with this whole work of art. The question is if in the end we will get to a point where we see Frieren's theories and Frieren's experiences being disproven or it being proven, and that will also be a very decisive moment for Frieren herself, because it will either reinforce her former beliefs or it will get her to look back at certain situations and rethink them retroactively, and think about, maybe even be worried about and feel guilt about if she could have done more in those situations. As for the demon child, I do think in this case, and we do see Himmel's attitude here, he is not happy, and but he's also not, he doesn't like the fact that he is not gonna stop Frieren killing the child. But in the end, he also knows in this case, he has no idea how to otherwise solve the situation, and just lets Frieren, with possibly more life experience as well. We do know, we spoke a lot about that more years, having lived more years doesn't necessarily mean you have more life experience. It doesn't necessarily mean you process the stuff the same way, but Frieren, with possibly more life experience, handle the thing, or more combat experience, to a more monster experience. But I do think Himmel would have still liked to find a solution for the child that isn't killing it. And I think he hated that he had to leave it to Frieren and not stop her in this situation. He also hated that seemingly he was being wrong in this situation, but I do believe this was a very complicated situation. Not every situation is the same, right? You do get a new client for therapy, or if you're a youth and a child psychologist, you get a new kid and it's a completely different kid, right? Even if it has the same general background, if it has it's Caucasian, it grew up in a middle class family, but there's vastly different factors and experiences in their life that determine who they are, and they have different temperaments, they have different parents, different environments, different education levels, and all of that, and different interests as well, different responses to people around them based on what they experienced. And so you can't find the same solution and come to the same conclusions for every case you have. And this child, in this case, was a very complicated case, and you don't know what happened before that and happened after that. And well, we do know what happened after that. It died. It was killed by Frieren. But what happened before that, and how all of this led to this situation, and maybe in another situation it would have been a completely different case, and you would have actually been able to teach the child to be more amicable towards humans, to understand that certain things are taboo, even if it can't emotionally empathize with it. It could have at least understood how it works if you explained it to them properly, right? Education and teaching cohabitation and all of these things, because it seems to have been capable of logical thought, right? It was completely wrong logical thought, but it offered the daughter to the parent, was like, here, a replacement daughter for you, and they were like, well, but it's the chief's daughter, what are you doing? It's something inhuman, right? That if somebody comes straight towards you and explains something like this so emotionlessly to you, and is trying to well, it's basically trampling on your emotions in your own mind, and you're like, you're a monster, you don't understand my feelings, you don't understand how humans work, you're a cruel thing, but the child tried to make an exchange, right? You leave me alone, here's your replacement. I'm sorry, not sorry on an emotional level, but sorry on a level of, well, I didn't know that I killed your daughter. And yeah, that is very fascinating for me, and just because there is some logic in there, there's some capability of understanding. It's not like it's a monster that's thrashing around trying to survive and feeding itself on hunger and reproductive instinct and all the other things that a being with just a base understanding, without much of a consciousness, without much of any higher thought would be. There is higher thought here, so there's the possibility of communication, and I'm very curious how this is going to go on. I do assume that we will definitely have a conflict, will definitely have a fight or two. There will definitely be some sadistic individuals among the demons. We already seen the signs for that. We already had it confirmed out of their own mouth, and we already, well, most of us who watch anime know that this is a very popular trope, to put the demons as these devious things, and have them being very sadistic, very, very cruel, very non-empathetic. But I do wonder if there will be a twist. I do wonder if we do get back to that, and because we are at the moment we are in the territory of dehumanization on the demons. There's something that is not human or close to human. They're on the opposite side. They exist on a spectrum that doesn't feel emotions, and we can't really communicate with them properly because our goals are so far apart that, right, that is the way it's displayed. But at the same time, we don't want to go into the area of anthropomorphism, which is the phenomenon where you put human traits or project human traits onto animals or other kinds of beings that are not human. We don't want to go too far into that because we have distinctly seen they are not human and they are different from humans. But there is still some intelligence and higher functioning in there. So there's a basis for communication. I think that was what 𝔸𝕬 originally thought, but it's really, really difficult to educate and raise a child that is from another species, I would assume, just as it is very difficult to raise a child that is from a completely different culture. That is also very difficult to do. Or try to raise a dog, try to raise a pet. Right? There's a lot you can do wrong. Right? There's also a lot you can do right. Some dogs are the absolute best friends of their partners. Some dogs can do incredible tricks and understand things that you wouldn't even know. Dolphins are very intelligent, right? There's a lot of intelligent animals that you can not just train, but also communicate with on some level and empathize with on some level, and have warm and affectionate feelings towards, and they reciprocate those. But yeah, I mean, obviously I don't want to compare a child to an animal here. What I'm trying to say is it is very difficult to teach somebody from the ground up if you do not know about their specific characteristics, if they're very different from you, also on a physiological level, on an emotional level, on a cognition level. It's difficult enough to raise your own children, right? It's difficult enough to do everything right in that regard. So yeah, very curious how this is gonna work out. I'm pretty sure Stark and Frieren are gonna show their muscles, gonna have some stuff to do. I'm pretty sure that Frieren is gonna try to annihilate some demons, and we will see how that conflict is gonna turn out. But yeah, I think that's it for the pre-discussion. I don't have much more to say. There's more curiosity and questions than there is answers or explanations or studies to go into. We don't always want to do that either. What I'm hoping for is some cool animation, some more insights, some little twists and turns that we can extrapolate on, and that's about it. Yeah, I'll see you in the reaction. Throw down the gauntlet. I don't think so. She doesn't seem impressed. She has the experience. You fucked up, dude. You fucked up. Now tell me, do demons feel fear? Yeah. Fear is an emotion. It's one of the more base ones, but yeah. So he does evaporate like a monster. I wonder if we're gonna get a new OP at some point. Or if this is gonna be the one for the entire show. I wouldn't mind that. Maybe some different visuals at some point. Fern eating the burger. 𝔸𝕓𝕠𝕦𝕥 again. It's funny, sometimes I feel like she's getting into more trouble than Fern and Stark are getting. Alright. So have you learned, Stark? She doesn't look down upon him, though. She started respecting him more after the dragon thing happened. Exactly, Stark. I mean... Alright, man. Does he know, though? Does he know Frieren? Ah, so he has an inkling she wasn't the one. The question is, would they die in this moment, right? Because these demons are very powerful, so... I wonder what our Graf or General has in store, how skilled he is. It's a very interesting way to fight. Demons are bloodbenders. Well, not all of them. But demon magic seems to be something very specific. So he revels in violence. The question is that every demon? That can't be good. Holy shit, we take this out. I don't think he would. Or do you have something against... do you have something that would force him to do so? Maybe his family, his child, whatever. But his son died already, so... It's just for demons and monsters. Okay, so this is the confirmation. And now it looks like she did, but obviously Graf saw through that. The question is he gonna stay alive long enough or get saved so he can vouch for her? And he hears the appeal. Fern wants to help the people. Stark too, I think. Yeah. Are they still underestimating themselves? I mean, it's better than overestimating themselves, but... I think you just lost some respect. It's interesting. Fern just accepts it, but Stark is like... I guess Stark is a little bit different in that case. But that's funny. That what makes them... That what makes them kind of have a good chemistry. So she might be going for Aura or somebody who is outside. Or maybe the army. Maybe the army is standing there waiting to attack again. I mean, after all, they were in a war all this time. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I was wrong. Aura the Guillotine is not the one in the intro. So is it the Demon Lord after all? Well, it says Lord, but might as well. I mean, I know genders are kind of like iffy in Japanese depending on what kind of sentence you use. So it might not be the Demon Lord, but the Demon Empress, Demon Queen. So that would make sense if that was the case, if she was in the intro. What did you think would happen, Stark? Come on. Think, Stark. The plain salad snake over here. Every demon has its specialty. Alright. So it was Flum's barrier. And once again, she walks in the footsteps of her past. Not just in terms of location, but in terms of all the things that exist. Defensive barriers, structures. It's not different with science, is it? So I wonder, is the Granat family descendant from Flum? Or maybe descendant from a companion of Flum? I don't know if Granat is a man who bends to torture. Doesn't strike me as the person. Don't give up so soon. Will they underestimate him because he trembles? He's not gonna leave. Go for it. Feel that adrenaline. It's gonna be hard. I wonder where Fern is. Oh, that is cool. The hand. I don't think he is thoughtless or reckless. Arrogance. Don't spoil the fun, Stark. Oh, they had a plan. You're dead. Holy shit. Fern sweep. But we do have our matchup. Tactical retreat. He's gonna follow her though. Or is she? That is weird. Why did I not identify her back then? Maybe you didn't realize. Whoa. We're gonna end here, aren't we? And she has a name in the demon world. Frieren the Slayer. Holy shit. Okay, interesting. So we did go from a more emotion and reminiscence centric plot over to finding our little group of people, right? We do have Ferno and we have Stark and we have Frieren. And now we're in the action-oriented arc. We're in the conflict arc. Not arc, but you know what I mean. This anime has very interesting pacing, but also an amazing variety of themes and topics, which is really cool. I do love this song. But yeah, like I said, interesting. But we go from our more Frieren-centric focus, and we do explore a little bit the lore of the past, of what happened with the hero's party, with the demons and whatever, and at the same time we ramp up this new threat. But we always play kind of with expectations, it seems. On the one hand, we do have that threat. We do have that threat coming from the demons, and we're not sure how much damage they're gonna do. But then we do thwart their plans in the next episode, and we're kind of at a standstill, equilibrium kind of state where we are wondering what's gonna happen, and then we leave on that cliffhanger of Frieren being clearly the bigger fish, being clearly the bigger threat, and we get led into that expectation of seeing a really powerful battle next time, with Frieren actually having the upper hand this time. But also maybe the demons having a trick or two that Frieren and compatriots might not expect. So yeah, not a lot to talk about in action-heavy episodes, really. I do think I'm not even gonna cut for this. We're just gonna manually cut. I'm gonna make a... We're definitely just gonna roll with the punches here. So we do have the reinforcement of the demons actually being evil. So far there seems to be no desire to characterize them beyond being monsters that are very intelligent, but also very arrogant. They do feel fear, they do feel some kind of sense of superiority. They have a proclivity for sadism, as we've seen, and for combat. There have been in fantasy a lot of races and species that have been created specifically with that proclivity for combat. One of the main things I can identify, I can remember from the top of my head is like the classic D&D orc, where there's a lot of focus on combat and strength and survival of the fittest, and challenging others and conquering, which is a cultural thing. We humans in our normal human world might find it very barbaric, but that's not necessarily. It depends how the people in the world itself feel about it, right? I mean, some alien species that's gonna come to Earth might find our practice of holding cattle to get our milk, to get our meat that we consume on the daily very barbaric. That is also always a matter of perspective in the end. But yeah, I do wonder what the Granat family's relation is to Flum, because we do get to know that Flum made the barrier that prevents the demons from actually conquering the city, and we do also know that the Granat family has been tasked for generations to uphold this barrier and control it. So at least the logical conclusion the demons came to is that there's some way to control it and to lower it or put it up again, and it's specifically against demons, which is a very interesting connection point that we find out later, where Lord Lugner identifies that he remembers, or the specific style of the spell remembers him of Frieren the Slayer, as she's called in the demon world apparently, which makes perfect sense as part of like the hero's party who defeated the demons back then, like 20-30 years back now. But yeah, there's this connection point to Flum, who apparently also designed a lot of things that were against demons, or try to protect against demons at least. And she was also the one who to identify this specific monster species of demons. Yeah, but we do seem to not have much more like specific characterization. I would assume that either next or like either next episode or the episode after, we're probably gonna get one or two demons that have a little bit of a deeper introspection, and we might be able to see their inner world more. If there's a twist coming about demons actually being redeemable, this would probably be the moment when this is gonna be the case. Other than that, yeah, Frieren the Slayer, we do set up the stakes. We do set up the amazing the absolute coldness in her eyes is absolutely, like, it's amazing. It's badass. It's a really great setup for next episode, and we do have the typically smirking kind of demon antagonist, although she doesn't look all that intimidating. So we do have to see, do they have a history? In which capacity do they have a history? Because Frieren noted that she is stronger than her, so she must have some kind of measurement. Maybe she has something in her backhand. Maybe Aura learned something or another in the time she used to regain her power, because she seems pretty confident in the face of Frieren. So I'm very curious as to how this fight is gonna go. Yeah, and then we have the two matchups, right? Lugner versus Stark, maybe Lugner versus Stark, or versus Stark and Granat, and I don't even know what the demon girl is called. Do we have a name here? Yeah, I mean the demon girl against Fern, which is what she apparently wants to, but Lugner is suggesting they do it the other way around. Our demon mage is gonna go against Stark, which would be very interesting to see how magic in this universe matches up against melee fighting, and Lugner would be trying to go up against Fern as kind of like more or less also revenge kind of thing, trying to overcome his fear of Frieren and using Fern as proxy for that, because she fights in a similar way and is, as he probably will find out eventually, the pupil of the one who humiliated and defeated her back then. And yeah, we do have our battlefield here. I'm pretty sure this is what we see in the intro, like all the swords and shit, and her staff being directed at something. We do go through here, right here. We do have this with the swords and whatnot, so I'm very curious if we get a demonstration of power here, if we do get to see the stakes, and also if we do get the contrast of how does a mage fight, how does how does a melee fighter fight? We did see those two things individually against monsters. We didn't see them against each other. What can they do against each other? How does it work? Could get some more world building next time in this regard. But yeah, that's about it. I'm probably just gonna go straight into the other episode then. Yeah, although I have a little bit something to note. Again, Stark shows us his character development. He doesn't hesitate anymore. He draws on his experience. He is trembling, and whenever he meets people, or whenever people like Frieren see it, or even Granat here, they recognize that he is acting very brave in spite of his own fears, and that gets him a lot of respect from these people. And he does follow through on what he's gonna do, right? And he's very skilled, as you can see. He surprises 𝔸𝕠𝕦 here and manages to cut off his arm, although obviously he is not as easily defeated, and has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. So he manages to survive, but they went in with a plan, and he did what he was supposed to do. It just wasn't a finishing shot, which, I mean, I don't know, small little 𝔸𝕠𝕠𝕦, but it's just, oh, I'll forgive you for that one. It's what happens. And yeah, very action oriented, very cool. A lot of stuff happening, a lot of political kind of little bit of that stuff. I do wonder in which capacity, though, Frieren is considered a monster in the demon world, right? We do see the fact that in general humans and other species like elves and dwarves see demons as monsters, and only monsters, and you can't talk with them, whatever. Most of them, at least, right? There is some capacity for possible empathy here, but even from the demons themselves, they do confirm that they see themselves as monsters. But do they see Frieren as monsters on the other hand? How much fear is in there? How much resentment? How much, and how does the other side, the other perspective, look upon somebody like Frieren, who slaughtered dozens or even millions of demons back in the war? But I will be seeing you in the next video. Until then.